I had no idea that one phone call could have such a profound impact on my life. I can tell you the exact truth, though. The leaves were gradually dropping to the ground as the temperature dropped in New York on this autumn day. A number I didn't recognize flashed up on my phone screen while I was savoring the peace and quiet. I considered putting it out of my mind at first. Who these days answers calls from complete strangers? Still, I had a gut feeling that I should pick up the phone. The person on the other line made me stop dead in my tracks the second I did that. Even though it had been a long time, I recognized the person right away. "Anna, this is Christina," she announced. Her tone was off-putting, sounding like a combination of politeness and another word. "Is that Christina?" I said, trying to sound composed despite my pounding heart. "What's happening?" My estranged sister Christina hadn't communicated with me in years. She wasn't phoning to strike up a conversation. A bombshell was her next remark. "My grandma has gone away." I was astounded. The one consistency in our family, our grandma had passed away. But there was more at Christina's call than meets the ear. There was an arrogance in her voice that gave me the willies. "I felt the need to inform you," she said, her tone bordering on mockery. "I have no doubt that you lead a modest life." Felt a slap from the words. It was almost as if I could see her smirking as she spoke it. The pain was too great for me to show her, though. "I appreciate you informing me," I responded with composure. "I will arrange to come." Her remarks were hurtful, but that wasn't all. Their presence triggered a whirlwind of recollections. Christina was the privileged child the whole time she was a kid. Because of her innate charisma, our father's favor, and his attention, she seemed to have it made. In contrast, I was the one who drew attention away from her, the one who tried my hardest, but fell short time and time again. Over the years, tension had built up in our relationship. The icing on the cake was her utterly terrible betrayal of me. My fiancé Brian dumped me for Christina. He was the one I had hoped to spend the rest of my life with. She snatched him from me with her charisma and deceitful tactics. A broken engagement was only part of it. A tremendous wound was inflicted by the treachery. Following that, I severed all relations with my family, including her. Our father's allegiance was quite clear. He was loyal to Christina. No matter how much she tried, my mother was unable to help us connect. In order to escape the mayhem, I created my own existence. I married Arthur, a kind and supportive man who works in tech. Together, we built a cozy, love-filled home in the suburbs. Our daughter, Abigail, is the light of our lives. At 5 years old, she's already an artist in the making, sharing her drawings on her popular YouTube channel. While my life may not be flashy, it's rich in love and happiness. But hearing Christina's voice again reminded me of the pain I had worked so hard to leave behind. This phone call wasn't just news about our grandmother. It was the beginning of a storm I wasn't sure I was ready to face. The idea of returning to the family home for our grandmother's funeral made my stomach twist. It had been years since I'd been back, and the memories were a bittersweet mix. Grandma had always been the heart of our family, the one person who believed in me no matter what. Her passing felt like the end of something irreplaceable. And now, with Christina's call, it seemed like I was being pulled back into a world I'd worked hard to escape. Over the next few days, I tried to prepare myself for the trip. Packing my bags wasn't the hardest part. It was the emotional baggage I knew I'd be carrying. Seeing Christina again was something I wasn't looking forward to. Her call hadn't just been to inform me of Grandma's death. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to it. With Christina, there always was. The day of the funeral arrived, and soon I found myself standing in front of the old family home. It looked exactly as I remembered it, and yet something felt different. The house seemed to hold whispers of the past, of our childhood laughter, arguments, dreams, and disappointments. Stepping inside, I was hit by a wave of emotions. The air was thick with grief, nostalgia, and unspoken tension. The rooms were filled with familiar faces. Some wore expressions of sorrow. Others had a guarded look, as if they had come not just to mourn, but to observe, judge, or scheme. As I moved through the crowd, I saw her, Christina. She stood near a group of people, effortlessly commanding their attention. She hadn't changed. Her charm was still magnetic, and her presence reminded me of the old family dynamics I had tried so hard to escape. I kept my distance at first, unsure of how to approach her, or if I even wanted to. But Christina had other plans. During the ceremony, while people were delivering heartfelt eulogies, she managed to catch me alone. "Anna," she said, smiling in that way she always did, polite but insincere. "It's been a while." I forced a smile. "Yes, it has. How have you been?" "Oh, she said, her voice coated in false sweetness. "Life has been interesting." I could feel the familiar undercurrent in her words, the subtle digs and unspoken rivalry that had never truly disappeared. For a moment, we just stood there, exchanging pleasantries that felt anything but pleasant. It was clear to me then that this wasn't just about saying goodbye to our grandmother. It was about something deeper, about facing the unresolved past. Looking at her, I realized that this reunion wasn't just about mourning. It was about confronting everything I had avoided, the betrayals, the unspoken grievances, and the choices that had shaped who we both had become. Little did I know this was only the beginning. I knew this encounter would bring revelations that could shake everything I thought I knew about my sister and our family. The days leading up to the funeral were tense, filled with emotions I had tried to bury. I kept busy with Arthur, Abigail, and our everyday life. But no matter how much I tried, I couldn't escape the thought of seeing Christina again. It wasn't just her. It was the whole family I had distanced myself from. Memories of the past were creeping in, and they weren't all happy ones. When the day of the funeral finally came, the atmosphere was thick with sadness and unresolved feelings. The family home, with its faded charm, was crowded with relatives and old friends. The house seemed alive, like it was silently watching over us, holding on to the echoes of our childhood, the laughter, the fights, and the secrets we hidden within its walls. As I entered the living room, I felt her presence before I saw her. Christina was there, as poised and confident as ever. Her polished appearance only reminded me of the rivalry that had always existed between us. It wasn't long before she made her way over to me. Her smile was softer this time, but still edged with something I couldn't quite trust. "I've been meaning to catch up," she said, her voice friendly but with a hint of curiosity. "It's been a while since we talked." I forced a polite smile, trying to keep my emotions in check. "Yes, it has. How have you been?" "Oh, Christina said with a dismissive wave of her hand. "Busy, but good. I'm sure you've heard from the family how things have been for me." I nodded, though I wasn't entirely sure what she was referring to. The last I had heard, Christina was living a glamorous life in Jacksonville, full of success and luxury. At least that's how the stories went. But I knew better than to believe everything I heard. With Christina, there was always more beneath the surface. During the wake, she made sure everyone knew about her so-called perfect life. She talked endlessly about Jacksonville, her upscale lifestyle, and her achievements. It was clear she was trying to impress, to prove her life was better than mine. I watched her with a mix of irritation and curiosity. Behind her confident facade, I could sense the same lies and manipulations that had defined her for years. She even brought up Bryan Adams, my former fiancé, now her ex-husband. Her casual mentions of him, her attempts to appear unaffected by their failed marriage, felt like she was reopening an old wound. Bryan had once been my everything. We had plans, dreams, and a future. Until Christina, with her charm and cunning, took him away. The betrayal broke me, leaving scars that I thought had healed. Seeing her now, so nonchalant and proud, was a painful reminder of all I had lost. It wasn't just about Brian. It was about all the hurt she had caused. This encounter wasn't just about the funeral. It was forcing me to confront a past I had tried so hard to leave behind. I decided it was time to confront Christina about the past. I'd carried the weight of her betrayal for far too long, and I hoped that talking to her might bring me some closure. As the crowd at the funeral began to thin out, I spotted her standing near the living room window. Summoning my courage, I approached her. "Christina, can we talk?" I asked, doing my best to keep my voice calm. She turned to me, her expression unreadable at first, but her eyes narrowed slightly. "Of course. What's on your mind?" I took a deep breath, trying to steady my emotions. "I need to understand," I began. "Why did you have to take Brian from me? What made you think it was okay to destroy what we had?" For a moment, Christina's cheerful mask dropped, replaced by a colder, more calculating look. "Anna, it's not about taking anything," she replied, her tone sharp. "Brian, I had our own connection. You just didn't see it." Her words stung, but I wasn't going to back down. "You manipulated him," I said, my voice rising with emotion. "You knew how much I loved him. You knew what he meant to me." She shrugged, her indifference infuriating. "Brian made his own choices. You can't blame me for that. Life doesn't wait for anyone, Anna. You need to move on." Her dismissive attitude only made my anger grow. "You never understood, did you?" I said, my voice trembling. "It wasn't just about Brian. It was about everything. You always seemed to have everything handed to you while I was left struggling to prove myself." Her expression hardened and her voice turned icy. "Don't blame me for your shortcomings," she shot back. "We all have our battles. Maybe if you had been more assertive, things would have turned out differently." Her words felt like knives cutting into wounds I thought had healed. I wanted to lash out, to yell, but I forced myself to take a deep breath. "This isn't just about Brian," I said quietly. "It's about our family. It's about the way everything always seemed to work in your favor while I was left behind." Before she could respond, a group of distant relatives approached, pulling us apart. The confrontation ended abruptly, leaving everything unresolved. I stepped away, my emotions swirling, and spent the rest of the evening in a daze. Faces blurred together as people offered their condolences, but my thoughts were stuck on Christina and the painful memories she had stirred up. The next day, as the funeral came to a close, I felt a mix of relief and unease. The family dynamics were as complicated as ever, and I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more beneath the surface. Christina's perfect life was starting to show cracks, and I was determined to uncover the truth. I left the funeral with a heavy heart, but a newfound resolve. The confrontation had opened old wounds, but it had also set the stage for deeper revelations. I knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but I was ready to face it. The days that followed were quiet yet unsettling as I prepared myself for what was to come. I kept replaying my confrontation with Christina in my mind, trying to make sense of it all. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't shake the feeling that our family's issues were still deeply rooted and unresolved. My mother's apology, though kind, didn't fix the years of distance and pain. It felt more like a bandage on a wound that needed more than just words to heal. During this chaotic time, Arthur and Abigail became my safe haven. Arthur, with his calm and steady presence, never pressured me to talk about what was troubling me. Instead, he simply stayed by my side, offering quiet support. Abigail, with her youthful energy and curiosity, was my light in the darkness. She poured her heart into her YouTube channel, sharing her artwork with the world. Her joy and excitement were contagious and gave me something positive to focus on. But the calm didn't last long. Christina, ever dramatic, took to social media in an attempt to belittle me. Her posts were filled with sarcasm, painting herself as wildly successful while making veiled jabs about my ordinary life. It was frustrating to see her try to make herself look better at my expense, and it hurt to know she was doing this so publicly. That's when Abigail's YouTube channel became an unexpected tool in this battle. One evening, after seeing a particularly cruel post from Christina, I had an idea. Abigail and I decided to make a video, not to directly confront Christina, but to show the happiness and love in our lives. We created a heartfelt video featuring Abigail's art and moments from our family life. While it seemed innocent on the surface, we included subtle references to Christina's lies. It was our way of standing up for ourselves without stooping to her level. The video took off quickly. Viewers flooded the comments, praising Abigail's talent and the warmth of our family. It didn't take long for people to connect the dots, and the tide began to turn. Christina's carefully crafted image started to crack. People began pointing out the inconsistencies in her stories, and her social media posts were filled with criticism. The truth about her manipulations was finally coming to light. As the video went viral, Christina's reputation began to fall apart. The backlash on social media was harsh, and people started questioning the persona she had spent years building. Meanwhile, Brian, her ex-husband, was also struggling. The public attention surrounding their failed marriage and his involvement in this drama affected his professional life. He made a critical mistake at work, which led to him losing his job as a software engineer. The pressure of his personal and professional failures pushed him into a downward spiral. For Christina, the strain became too much to handle. Her perfect facade was crumbling, and with it, her sense of control. The fallout from this battle was far from over, and it was clear that the choices we made now would shape the future for everyone involved. Christina filed for divorce, cutting her final ties with Brian. Their son, Gabriel, became an innocent victim of their turmoil. With Christina's unstable situation, Gabriel was placed in a care facility, a far cry from the privileged life Christina had once proudly shown off. The cracks in the family's dynamics grew wider, forcing everyone to face the consequences of past actions. Amidst the upheaval, my mother approached me. She had always been more sympathetic toward Christina, but now she stood before me with tears in her eyes and an apology on her lips. "I'm sorry, Anna," she said, her voice trembling. "For everything. We should have treated you better. I see now how much pain we caused." Her words, though genuine, didn't erase the years of hurt. Still, I appreciated her honesty. It was a step forward, but healing would take time. I decided to keep our relationship polite but distant, focusing instead on what truly mattered, my own family's happiness and peace. With all the drama swirling around us, Arthur and I decided we needed a break. We planned a trip to an amusement park for Abigail, a day to escape the chaos and reconnect as a family. It turned out to be exactly what we needed. Abigail's laughter filled the air as she raced from ride to ride, her joy infectious. Arthur and I held hands, enjoying the simple moments that reminded us why our little family was so strong. The outing gave us a chance to step away from the shadows of the past and focus on the present. Watching Abigail's excitement and feeling the warmth of Arthur's presence, I realized how far we'd come. This was our life, a life built on love, trust, and support. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours, and that was enough. As the weeks passed after our trip, a sense of calm began to settle over us. The chaos that had once shaken my world was fading, and I could feel a new balance taking hold. Christina's downfall was harsh but inevitable. Her constant need to prove herself, her envy, and her manipulative actions had finally caught up with her. The divorce, the loss of her son's care, and her crumbling reputation were painful consequences of the choices she had made. Brian, too, was facing his own struggles. His dismissal from his job left him adrift, struggling to rebuild his life. But for me, these events felt distant, like echoes from a life I no longer lived. My focus had shifted entirely to my family and the contentment we had found together. Through everything, I learned a powerful lesson. The past may shape us, but it doesn't define us. With Christina's influence fading and my family thriving, I felt a renewed sense of hope. Our journey was far from over, but for the first time in a long while, I could look forward to the future with peace in my heart. Arthur and I worked hard to strengthen our relationship, leaning on each other for support. Despite the challenges we had faced, our bond only grew stronger. Our daughter, Abigail, was thriving in her creative pursuits. For her and everyone else, her YouTube channel remained an inspiration and a source of happiness. Every day, seeing her develop, smile, and share her gift with the world served as a reminder of the importance of family, love, and joy in my life. A letter from my mom arrived in my mailbox one day. She apologized for the way things had gone and asked for forgiveness in it, expressing her deepest regrets. I understood that mending our relationship wouldn't happen immediately, but I also appreciated her reaching out and her genuine remarks. After she apologized, I responded kindly by letting her know that it would require work from both of us to get back together. Our family had been irrevocably altered by the events that had transpired. The consequences of my parents' decisions, which showed favoritism toward Christina, taught me endurance, forgiveness, and strength. To recover, I had to learn to let go of the anger that had been holding me back, not only wait for it to go away. I gained insight during those times of solitude. Arthur, Abigail, and I had become closer as a result of our shared suffering in the past. The bonds among our small family had strengthened, and our love for one another had expanded. The little everyday things, like laughing together over dinner or spending an evening in silence, were the building blocks of our pleasure. The arrival of October brought a sense of purpose and inspiration as summer drew to a close. I started organizing a community service project to facilitate better communication and connection building within families. I want to help those going through tough times by sharing lessons learned from my own experiences. This endeavor became my means of channeling the negative energy from my past into a constructive force. It was clear to me as I looked back how far we had gone. My identity was shaped by a journey that included the difficult moments at Grandma's funeral, surprising revelations, and even skirmishes on social media. Christina's experience was a warning, but it also showed me that I can overcome adversity and continue on my journey with love and purpose. I had a profound sense of tranquility when I ended that part of my life. Though challenging, the journey had provided invaluable perspective. Once shrouded in doubt, the future suddenly seemed ripe with opportunity. I felt like we were creating something special with Arthur's support, Abigail's infectious laughter making our days brighter, and the progress we were making on our community project. One thing was certain: our family's resilience and solidarity would carry us through any difficulty. Our love for one another was the best present we could have received, and it would lead us into the future as a united front.
Hi, I'm Nancy. I'm 24, a financial analyst in Chicago. And this is the story of how I uncovered my stepfather's web of lies. You need to see this, Nancy, Karen says, sliding her chair next to mine and pointing at my computer screen. We're burning the midnight oil at Morton & Associates, combing through client accounts riddled with discrepancies. My stomach tightens when I spot the account number on the screen. It's from Nathan's business portfolio, I mutter. Another one this week. These transfers don't match the reported investments. I rub my temples, the tension creeping back as memories flood in. 8 years ago, my mom met Nathan Cooper at a charity gala. Within 6 months, they were married. I was just 16. Watching him quietly take over every aspect of our lives. Remember when he tried to talk me out of majoring in finance? I tell Karen, creating a folder to isolate the suspicious transactions. Yeah, your stepdad always gave me the creeps, Karen replies, her tone sharp. The way he monitors your mom's spending, how he convinced her to cancel her art classes because they were too expensive. Meanwhile, he's funneling thousands into phantom accounts. My phone buzzes, interrupting our conversation. It's Uncle Kevin. Nancy, are you free for coffee tomorrow? We need to talk about Nathan. Relief washes over me. Finally, someone else sees it too. Uncle Kevin has never bought into Nathan's perfect businessman act. That evening, I'm sitting at the dinner table with Mom when Nathan walks in. Linda, darling, I need you to sign these papers for the house renovation, he says, placing a folder in front of her. Something about the papers catches my eye. Mom, wait. Nancy, this is between your mother and me, Nathan says, his voice dripping with condescension. Actually, as her financial advisor, which yes, no one asked me to be, I'm protecting her. His face reddens. Protecting her. I've given you both everything. Your college education, this lifestyle. Even the college you tried to talk me out of. The one Uncle Kevin had to push you to support. I fire back. Mom looks confused, her eyes darting between us. Nathan, what is she talking about? Nothing, Linda, Nathan says quickly, his mask slipping. Nancy's been working too hard. She's seen conspiracies where there aren't any. I pull out my phone, scrolling to the photos I took of his hidden accounts. Really? Then explain these transfers to untraceable accounts. His composure cracks for a moment, revealing a dark, furious expression. You've been spying on my business. No, I reply, standing firm. I've been doing my job. And tomorrow, I'm meeting Robert to discuss some interesting findings. The color drains from his face before he quickly recovers. We'll discuss this later, he snaps, leading Mom away. But I noticed his hands trembling. Later that night, Karen texts me. Documents secured. Meeting with Robert set for 9 a.m. I reply, perfect. Time to end this charade. My apartment looks like a crime scene with papers scattered everywhere. Karen sits cross-legged on the floor, highlighter in hand. These transfer patterns are insane, I mutter, scanning documents. Holy crap, Nancy, Karen exclaims, pointing at her laptop. Look at this account in the Caymans. The deposits match exactly with the missing investor funds. The puzzle pieces are finally coming together. Nathan isn't just hiding money, he's stealing it. My phone rings. It's Robert, our firm's compliance officer. Nancy, can you talk? Go ahead, I say, putting him on speaker. Karen leans in. The investors are asking questions about their returns. Robert explains. Nathan's getting nervous. Yesterday, he tried to access the main investment account, but the system flagged it. Did he say why? I ask. He claims it's for the Morrison deal, but that doesn't close for another month. Something's off. Karen nudges me, pointing to her screen. Check this out. I lean over and freeze. There are regular transfers to someone named Catherine Wells. Robert, I ask, my voice steady. Do you know a Catherine Wells? A heavy pause. Nathan's assistant from the Denver office. Young, blonde, started 6 months ago. Why? My stomach churns. The one he personally hired. Just then, Uncle Kevin walks in carrying a stack of papers. Nancy, you need to see this, he says, spreading out files on the table. Divorce records, police reports, business filings. Nathan's tangled web reaches across 3 states. Nathan Cooper had spent years crafting the illusion of the perfect family man and astute businessman. But that mask was about to shatter. Your stepfather's been doing this for years, Uncle Kevin says grimly, spreading out more documents on my dining table. 2 previous marriages, both ending right after big business deals. Both ex-wives claimed financial fraud, but the cases disappeared, just like your mom's friends did when he came into her life. I think about how Nathan systematically isolated Mom, controlling every aspect of her existence. My phone buzzes, pulling me from my thoughts. It's a text from one of Nathan's business partners, Morrison deal closing next week. Nathan planning immediate departure afterward. I feel the blood drain from my face. He's going to leave Mom with nothing, I whisper, my hands trembling. All these wire transfers, he's been planning his escape for months. Karen grips her laptop tightly. We need copies of everything. Like yesterday. We work through the night, scanning, copying, and organizing evidence. bank statements proving embezzlement, emails between Nathan and Catherine detailing their plans, and records of his previous fraudulent schemes. Uncle Kevin calls his law enforcement contacts, while Karen helps me divide everything into 3 folders: evidence for the investors, personal files for Mom, and criminal records for the police. I glance at the calendar. Christmas dinner is in 2 days, I say, my voice steady. Everyone will be there: investors, business partners, family. Perfect timing. Uncle Kevin nods. Maximum impact. The dining room sparkles with Christmas lights as Mom fusses over the table settings. Nathan, ever the gracious host, sits at the head of the table, charming Robert and the other investors. He's in his element, basking in their admiration. Wonderful dinner, Linda, Robert says, raising his glass. Though I'm surprised you invited the whole firm. Christmas is about family, Nathan says smoothly, and some of us are practically family, aren't we, Catherine? Nathan freezes mid-sip, choking on his wine as Catherine shifts uncomfortably in her seat. I'd made sure to invite her, pretending it was a gesture of office inclusion. Before dessert, I stand. I have something important to share, I announce, pulling out a thick folder. Nancy, not now, Nathan hisses, his voice low and threatening. Actually, it's perfect timing, I counter, handing out copies to everyone. These documents show where the Morrison investors' money really went. Fascinating reading. Mom frowns as she flips through her papers. What are these bank transfers to Catherine Wells? That's what I'd like to know, Robert says, his tone icy as he studies the documents. Nathan lunges for the files, but I'm ready. Careful, I warn, stepping back. There are copies with the SEC. You little. Nathan snaps, swinging at me in rage. Uncle Kevin catches his arm mid-swing. Don't you dare touch her. Linda, she's lying. Nathan protests, struggling against Uncle Kevin's grip. Like you lied to your previous wives? I retort, pulling out another set of papers. The ones you bankrupted in Denver and Houston. Catherine stands suddenly, her chair scraping the floor. Previous wives? You told me you were married once. Baby, I can explain. Nathan pleads, desperation cracking his voice. Don't baby me, you said we'd start fresh after the Morrison deal. Mom's face goes pale. Start fresh, she whispers. He was planning to leave me, broke and alone. I nod. Just like the others. The sound of approaching sirens fills the room. Police burst through the door moments later, shouting commands. Nathan tries to run but is tackled to the ground, his furious protests drowned out by the chaos. You've been betrayed, he screams as they cuff him. You'll all pay for this. The only traitor here is you, I say coldly, and now everyone knows it. Mom collapses into Uncle Kevin's arms, sobbing. Catherine, visibly shaken, hands her phone to an officer before slipping out the door. Nathan's business partners huddle in a corner, their faces pale as they frantically strategize damage control with their lawyers. As the chaos of that fateful Christmas faded into memory, our lives transformed in ways we never imagined. For the first time in 8 years, I saw something in Mom's eyes I hadn't seen before. Freedom. The fear Nathan had instilled in her was gone, replaced by a quiet strength. As the police led him away that night, she mouthed, "Thank you." Now, a year later, I cradle my phone while watching Mom hang ornaments on our new Christmas tree. Mom, you won't believe who just called. She turns to me, a smile softening her features, something she does freely these days. Please tell me it's good news. I've had enough drama for a lifetime. Nathan's second ex-wife, I say, unable to hide my grin. She's joining the class action lawsuit. That makes 5 victims now. Good, Mom says firmly. Let him face every single person he hurt. The TV catches our attention as the anchor announces breaking news. Investment mogul Nathan Cooper faces additional fraud charges in Denver. His former associate, Catherine Wells, has provided key testimony. Turn it up. Karen calls from the kitchen, walking in with mugs of hot chocolate. The report continues. Cooper's assets have been frozen across 3 states. Sources say his legal troubles mounted after his dramatic arrest at a family Christmas dinner last year. I smile at the memory, absently touching my jaw where his swing had left a bruise. It's long gone now, but the victory remains as sweet as ever. Hey, speaking of victory, Karen says with a grin, should we tell her? Tell me what? Mom asks, looking between us curiously. Karen nudges me, and I can't keep it in any longer. Mom, meet Morton and Associates' newest junior partner. The board voted this morning. Tears well up in her eyes as she pulls me into a tight hug. My brilliant girl. Robert said they're renaming the firm next year. Karen adds, it'll be Morton, Mitchell, and Associates. Just then, Uncle Kevin walks in carrying his ever-present stack of files. Just met with the lawyers, he says, setting them down. Nathan's plea deal fell through. Catherine's testimony destroyed his defense. How many years is he facing? I ask. Minimum 20, Uncle Kevin replies. His former business partners aren't playing nice, either. They're liquidating everything. Mom adjusts a framed photo on the mantel, her with her friends from the art class she rejoined after Nathan's arrest. Remember how he said my art was a waste of money? She asks, her voice tinged with pride. Well, guess who just sold 3 paintings? Before I can respond, the doorbell rings. It's our neighbors, bringing Christmas cookies. Under Nathan's reign, we never had simple moments like this. Oh, show them the magazine, Mom exclaims, hurrying to grab a copy of the business journal. The cover features my expose on financial fraud prevention. You know what's ironic? I say, holding the magazine up. He always said I'd never understand finance like he did. Now his case is taught in fraud prevention classes. The news report wraps up with a satisfying conclusion. Cooper's former associates have faced charges, and his hidden accounts have been seized. Karma, it seems, has caught up with him. Outside, carolers sing, their voices filling the air with joy. Mom hums along as she places cookies on a tray. She used to love caroling before Nathan deemed it wasteful. But Nathan's power over us is gone now, replaced by something stronger. Truth, justice, and the unbreakable bond between mother and daughter. Life without toxic people isn't just possible, it's beautiful. So what would you do if you discovered your parent's spouse was living a complete double life? Would you expose them immediately or gather evidence silently, like I did? Would you feel guilty for breaking up their marriage, even if it was built on lies?